Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Today is 11/7. Boy, we always have these funny numbers. 11/7. This is going to be aired on the 10th, and it's show number 73. And the name of this show is Wierd. You say, Rich, why did you name it Wierd? The reason why I named it Wierd is because unbelievable, crazy crap wouldn't fit on this sign, so. But I mean, guys, some really weird stuff has been happening. And I mean, you know, there's, the election was weird. And, speaking of election, my kudos go out to Uncle Joey. Uncle Joe and his T-Billy Jihadists. It was Uncle Joe that won the election for Obama, posting all, hey, Joe, you won fair and square. You know, I became an activist 2 years ago, right before the presidential election, and that's the reason for the bear, because you guys got so severely trounced, I brought the bear with some hot chocolate. Well, this time I need the bear. So we're even. Right now we're 1-1. But we got another election coming up, and that'll be fun. So that's weird. The other thing that's weird is we're going to have a polar vortex again. That's right. Coming up this coming week, it's going to start freezing again. And guys, it's going to get bad. And you know, last year we didn't even know what a polar vortex was. Now we're going to have another one. And the other weird thing that happened, guys, I don't know if it was divine intervention. I don't know. The last show, at the end of the show, we were wrapping it up. And the next, Marty Heiser, who does his own show, was getting ready, was getting mic'd up and stuff. He was going to do his show after our show. And one word led to another, and Marty came over, and we started talking about climate and global warming and climate change. So Marty was kind enough to grace me with his presence, and we're going to show you what happened. So John, hit the first clip. Yeah. All right. Hey, we just got a surprise visit from Marty Heiser. Hey, Marty, take a look at this chart and tell us what you see there. Tell us what you see on this chart. Marty's a conservative, everybody.
What I'm seeing here is a 5-year average and the annual average, and temperature is going up, 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 up. You can see clearly from this graph why it looks almost like a hockey stick.
Wait a minute. Wait, I think somebody better come out and give me mouth to mouth.
That's not going to be me.
Marty, I'm in shock. So you mean you agree that global warming is real and happening? Huh?
Do you really want me to come on?
No, well, just say yes or no.
No, I don't believe that global warming's happened. I think there's more polar ice than there ever has been on the South Pole, and I think there's... Come over here. Marty, after
the show is over,
yes,
you might want to watch it, because after you watch it, you're gonna go, could I possibly be that wrong?
So there really is global warming.
Charts don't lie.
Oh, of course not. Of course
charts don't lie.
You have a chart here.
They don't lie.
And
they don't.
As long as it has it gotten any warmer over the past 18 years?
Yeah,
it has. Okay,
Marty, the charts don't lie.
All right, there's the chart. Is there more ice on the South Pole now than there ever has been?
There is.
There is.
There is
more.
Yeah, there's more. Well, no. See, now here's what you have to define now.
Okay.
Are you talking about land ice or sea ice? Because both.
There's more, and it's thicker than there's ever been.
Because there's less land ice, because the land ice has melted.
I see.
And run into the sea, which has increased the volume of the sea ice.
Okay, so if there's the square footage of ice is increasing, you, from your global perspective, your global warming perspective, have an answer for it. One other question, what about the polar bears? Are there more polar bears now than there were 100 years ago?
No. No.
There are less polar bears.
There's less but what'll happen is, the guy that gave the report that said there was more polar bears, I watched him do it on Fox.
Fox!
And then he said, well, we have no evidence.
Yeah.
But this is what we think.
Okay.
Well, we're not here to think.
Well,
we don't think. We let charts tell us.
I don't mean to jump into your show or anything like that.
That's fine. This couldn't be any...
Okay. When General George Washington was fighting the Revolutionary War in the harbor in New York, was there a sheet of ice so you could walk a horse and wagon from Staten Island over to Manhattan?
Probably.
Okay, so there was.
Probably.
So I'm just wondering, does the Earth go through series of global warming and cooling periodically in our history?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why now is this series of global warming or cooling, whichever it is, mean that we're going to have to somehow raise taxes, give it to liberal Democrats because they'll fix it?
Don't assume that we're raising taxes.
Oh, good. Well, then we agree. How much time?
No,
oh, sorry.
We're done.
We're done?
We'll keep arguing, and we'll roll the credits on top.
So the credits were already run? We're really done?
They're running now. Say goodbye.
Say goodbye. This couldn't get any better than it was.
Goodbye. Look, have me back on?
Oh, you want to embarrass yourself again?
Absolutely.
I'd love to. I'd love to. I can't believe that what are you going to do?
Help me! The Earth is getting warmer.
It is.
Warmer.
It is.
Help me! Stop the Republicans. Vote Democrat. We'll solve the problem.
So where are we? Judy? Hello?
I think I wrecked your show.
Well, we got off to such a terrible... Are we done yet?
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Oh, man.
Guys, the charts don't lie. Unless you're Uncle Joey. Guys, so that's almost what I call divine intervention. So Marty has agreed to come back, and he's agreed to debate me. And I'll tell you, we're going to have a debate. It'll be on November 24th, and it's going to be live at 7 o'clock. Now, you're going to be able to bring any stills that you want, any videos that you want, and we're going to have opening statements. I'm going to have a 10-minute opening statement. Marty will have a 10-minute. Then we'll have 5-minute rebuttals. We want to have call-in, question and answer call-in. We'll have rebuttals. And we're looking for a moderator. So because I believe in fairness, and you guys know how much I love to watch Fox News, as a moderator, I'm suggesting that we bring in ultra-conservative Dave Ranelli from WLAD Radio. Dave is the guy that lies to you in the morning on hate radio. Dave is the guy that refuses to accept the fact that the globe is warming and climate change is real. So you know what? I'll let him moderate the debate, because you know what? When it comes to facts, I got the facts on my side. Now, Marty said he would have debated tonight, but he's holding a Bible study. A Bible study. So Marty, you believe in things that don't exist, and you can't accept what's real. And we're going to debate each other. And this is going to be fun. And guys, hey, look, when it comes to God, you can believe anything you want. I mean, if you want to believe in the Loch Ness Monster, that's up to you. If you want to believe in Bigfoot, that's up. Oh, by the way, they're having a new show. They're going to have a premiere on Bigfoot, and they're going to go look for him somewhere. And I say, you got to be kidding me. And, some of the simple folk, they'll watch this, And getting back to the election, and Joe, I don't know how it happened. I don't know how the simple folk voted for the Republicans. I mean, if the Republicans were chickens, they would have voted for KFC. And it's the truth. They don't care. They could care less. You know, all they want to do is they wanted to vote against Obama. And hey, Joe, nice job. I'll tell you, you get the kudos. But the thing is, Joe, the one thing you can never do is you can't change charts, babe. It's not possible. And you'll never be able to change the truth. And once you start to understand that, and in tonight's show, you know, we're going to show you a clip where a girl explains this, and she says, listen, you know, it's time to face reality. You know, when the thermometer says 98 degrees, it's 98 degrees. It's not whether it's your opinion, it's 98. So the next clip we're going to show you, so remember, guys, on the 24th, Marty and I are going to sit face to face, and I'm going to try to get Dave Ranelli to moderate. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see if these guys got any Galaducci's. I doubt it. You know what I mean? But anyway, the next clip is going to be on the polar vortex. And, guys, there's another superstorm. And believe it or not, this superstorm is hitting Alaska. And it could be one of the biggest superstorms ever. But, of course, because it's in the Pacific, on the other side of the United States, it's called a typhoon. And, you know, Al Gore, when he said that storms would get worse and there'd be more hurricanes and there'd be more tornadoes, you know, Al Gore never said there would be more typhoons. So what they do is when they can use the word typhoon instead of a hurricane, which is what it is, Al Gore was wrong. And that's why with Superstorm Sandy, they made it, when Superstorm Sandy hit land, it wasn't a hurricane anymore. It was a tropical depression. It was a $70 billion disaster, whatever you call it. But the thing is, these guys, they have to play with the semantics, with the terms, so that this way they could continue to hose the American people. So, let's take a look at the polar vortex. Let's see what's coming. And then we're going to take a step back to last year when we didn't even know what it was. So, John, hit us with the next one.
Good evening. There will be a change in the weather. Temperatures are about to drop dramatically in much of the country. It's the return of the polar vortex that brought misery a year ago. That mass of swirling cold air will dip southward this weekend, sending the mercury plunging. As the cold air moves south and east, it has the potential to affect as many as 243 million people, with wind chills in the single digits in some places and snow. Dean Reynolds tells us all of this was triggered by a super typhoon named Nuri.
These pictures from the European Space Agency show that Nuri is a growing meteorological bomb blanketing the Bering Sea. The 50-foot waves and 100-mile-an-hour winds will make conditions similar to these 2 years ago. And could make Nuri the biggest storm of the year. But it would be wrong to think that it will affect only Alaska's far-flung Aleutian Islands or those famous fishermen who work in the North Pacific.
I'm going to get everybody home.
WBBM's meteorologist Megan Glaros explains.
The remnants of Super Typhoon Nuri will create a big buckle in the jet stream, and in several days' time, it's going to mean a big dip in the jet, which will connect us with a big mass of Arctic air, taking temperatures east of the Rockies down to 10 to 30 degrees below average.
Say a big mass of Arctic air to anyone who lives in the Midwest, and it conjures painful memories of the dreaded polar vortex that hit the region last winter. In Chicago, an average temperature of 18 degrees was accompanied by 80 inches of snow and 32 fatalities. And last winter, ice was a major threat across the region. I'm standing on the shoreline of the Kankakee River, and all of this ice in front of me has come up over the bank. and threatens to keep on coming. Chicago is already storing salt like a squirrel stores nuts. Charles Williams of the Streets and Sanitation Department says the city will face the winter with 400,000 tons on hand. And that's compared to?
We're going to have 115,000 tons more on the ground this season than last.
The unusually cold weather is expected to last for several days over much of the country, Scott, before the polar vortex goes back to where it belongs, in Canada.
Dean Reynolds bundled up in the Windy City. Dean, thanks so much.
What's going on?
Hey, guys.
There we are. Hey! All right. So, guys, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, so we saw that was a super typhoon, and that's going to create the polar vortex. Well, last year, we really didn't know what a polar vortex was. I mean, I had heard the term used, but I mean, it wasn't something that was in, everybody's, dictionary. And, somebody said a vortex. What are you talking about? So let's go back a year. And the reason why we want to go back is I want to just express that when superstorms become the norm, that means that something's wrong. It's that simple, guys. You can deny it all you want, but they keep happening more and more frequently. And you can call it a typhoon or you can call it a hurricane, but it's wreaking havoc with the globe. And the climate deniers, I don't care what they say anymore. It's too late. Look at what we're doing. So let's look at the next clip and let's go back a year and find out what a polar vortex is and what really causes it. So, John, hit it.
This morning's dangerously cold weather comes from a blast of Arctic air known as a polar vortex. The nation is dealing with conditions not seen in decades. Today's high temperature in Minneapolis is expected to be -11. Time Magazine's senior editor Brian Walsh is with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what is this polar vortex?
Well, polar vortex is a sort of almost like a hurricane that forms over the poles, the Arctic in this case. Extremely fast-moving winds, very, very cold, dense air. This isn't unusual, but what happens in this case actually is that the winds weaken somewhat, and that cold Arctic air spills over down into us.
So, but is it stronger this year than it has been in the past?
Well, it's definitely, this is a case when you have these kind of cold snaps, it means it's weakened somewhat, and there is some theories actually that some of the warming actually you're seeing up in the Arctic might be changing the atmospheric circulation in that part of the world, actually causing those winds to weaken and maybe makes these cold spells a little more likely than they would otherwise be.
So there has been an increase in the frequency of these polar vortexes.
Yeah, that's what we remember. There's a couple winters ago where we had another sort of similar cold snap. We've had a few strong snowstorms. This despite the fact that we're still seeing warming happening in the winter and the rest of the year. So there is some theory that maybe this is changing this atmosphere, making it more likely.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, this is the first time I've heard the phrase polar vortex, and I don't feel like I'm out of it. Were you familiar with it?
I was not that familiar with it, no, but now, of course, it's one of those terms that's everywhere, and it does sort of explain, if you think of it as a hurricane up in the north and you see that wind spilling down, you can actually see the temperatures falling up to the upper Midwest all the way down to the south.
Mm-hmm. Is it definitely connected to global warming?
Potentially, it's connected to that.
Potentially.
These have been happening already. What's new, perhaps, is the fact that the winds may actually be weakening. That could be due to warming in the Arctic, changing the atmospheric circulation, therefore making it more likely for that cold, dense air to escape the vortex, spill down to us.
A lot of people are asking this question: when will it end?
It's the good news. It'll be very short-lived. It should be by the middle of the week. You'll see it. Temperatures going back to normal, back up 40, 30 degrees above where they are now.
You need a polar vortex to explain why it was 54 degrees this morning here in New York City, and then it's going to be about 10 degrees by tonight.
When I stepped outside, I said, why do I have a coat on?
Yeah, it felt very balmy.
Yeah, exactly.
Felt balmy. Brian, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, guys, when the polar vortex hits this week, you're going to say you heard it here first. And, this is it's not a joke anymore. This stuff is just bad jazz. And, I was out last week and I saw a buddy of mine, Steve DeMoro. Steve, He ran for probate judge in, I forget what district, but he didn't win, but he's a good man, just had his second kid, and we were talking about solar and everything, and I was talking to him about wild weather. And I wasn't even aware of the polar vortex, but I told him, I said, well, you know, there was 13 inches of rain in Long Island. And he said, Rich, you can't tell me that there was 13 inches of rain in one section of Long. I said, Steve. He goes, yeah, you know, you got to show me that to believe it. Well, Steve, guess what? I'm going to show you what 13 inches of rain looks like. And what's confusing is when you're watching the girl broadcasting it, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day, and you're going to say, well, what are they talking about? What could have possibly gone wrong? And then when you see the rest of the video, you go, Mamma mia, I guess it did rain 13 inches. So, John, hit us with the next one.
We begin here at noon. It was a powerful and deadly storm that has left a historic amount of rain, mostly on Long Island.
More than a foot of water in some places, leaving cars on major highways like the Southern State Parkway underwater. Many who tried to drive through lost that battle, forced to climb out windows and wade to safety.
Entire neighborhoods like Lindenhurst left water soaked, slowing not only travel on the roads, but also the rails. We have live Eye on the Storm team coverage here at noon with reporters covering every angle of the storm. Let's start with Carolyn Gussoff, who is in Bayshore.
Yeah, good afternoon. Officials here on Long Island say this one caught them by surprise. More than 10 highways closed at different points this morning, including right here in Bayshore, Sunrise Highway. Take a look. Just moments ago, cars began trickling through, and you could see cars are still stopped on Sunrise Highway. Some of them feeling that they just still can't make it through. There was at one point 3 feet of water lapping over the center median after 13 inches of rain poured down on Bayshore. We were here hours ago where folks told us they were stopped since about 6 o'clock this morning. They came upon this exit. We're by Howells Road in Bayshore, and they simply couldn't go any further. So they stopped their cars, and people were in their cars, they told us, for 3 hours minimum. Waves of rainwater lapping up to the guardrails on Sunrise Highway in Bayshore. The busy east-west corridor impassable, with drivers standing still for hours.
It's been horrible. I had a doctor's appointment canceled. I don't know when I'm going to be getting home.
It feels like we had a huge hurricane without the winds.
For commuters like Terry Nolan of Massapequa, it was 3 hours to nowhere.
Came down straight path, it was flooded, headed north, came down Little East Neck Road to Sunrise Highway, and I've been on the road since 7 o'clock. I wish I never left the house this morning, okay? That's how I feel.
And within the flooded highway, stranded, submerged cars, with onlookers standing in the road to see the impossible sight.
Mind-boggling, frightening. You know, you think of tsunami. You get all this rain and it makes you, it's like a reality check.
Drivers tried to navigate backwards down flooded ramps and found back streets no better as water cascaded from the highway to side streets. Bayshore residents say they heard the pounding rain before dawn, but never expected this.
I have never seen this before, and during Sandy it wasn't so bad because it didn't rain, so we didn't have as much flooding, but the rain this morning was ridiculous.
This man on the way to catch a flight drove his car into floodwaters and had to rescue his family from chest-high water.
Very scary because I didn't know exactly, how long it was going to take and when the wind would stop, so I was really worried.
Scary indeed, and there is at least one report of a fatality. Officials, including the Suffolk County Executive and the town supervisor here in Islip, Tom Croce, advising residents not to go out on the roads until they have deemed them passable. And you see right now Sunrise Highway just beginning to achieve that. Islip Airport, meanwhile, remains open and operational, but flights not taking off at least until 1 p.m. That's the latest from Bayshore, Long Island. Carolyn Gussoff, CBS 2 News.
Carolyn.
Hey, guys, can you imagine living out there and you pick up your phone and you call your boss? Hey, boss, I'm on the LIE and it's flooded and I'm not going to be able to make it in today. That's it. I've had, how many, and could you imagine if it snowed? Right, they had 13 inches of rain. Now for snow, for each inch of snow, each inch of rain, you get 10 inches of snow. So if they had 13 inches of rain, they would have had 10 feet. Can you imagine? Hey, boss, I can't come in today. I'm in 10 feet of snow. Hey, guys, when superstorms become the norm, that means something's wrong. I mean, these things happen. And here's a TV station that did a report that links rain to climate change, because once again, you're going to get people that are going to deny it. Why? Because they have to. You know, if you're a Republican, when I went to vote, I talked to the kid that was running in my district, and he had to be a climate denier. And I said, I feel bad for you, but I feel worse for your kids. The fact that you haven't spent the time to sit down and do your homework. We're not asking a lot, you know? You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure out that this chart is telling you something is wrong. It's that simple. This is it. This is as simple as it gets. Can't get any easier. Can't argue with it. Unless you're Uncle Joey, who thinks the charts were altered. He thinks NASA's going to alter the charts. Come on, Joe. All right, so anyway, this next one is going to show a report that links the heavy rain to climate change, and you'll see why. So, John, hit it.
It's been dry this week, but a week ago, you'll remember heavy rain falling across western Massachusetts. 22 News Storm Team meteorologist Adam Stremko joins us with a recent study that found heavy rainstorms are becoming more common.
That's right, Juliana. Well, if you think we've been seeing more heavy rain now than we used to, you're right. Our recent report indicates that climate change is responsible for the flooding rains we've seen lately. Last Wednesday, on a single day, parts of western Massachusetts picked up between 3 and 5 inches of rain. That's more than we usually get in a month. We saw significant flash flooding, and it's not the first time we've seen weather like that this summer. The National Climate Assessment consists of 300 scientists and experts. The NCA released a report in May that indicates heavy rain events are becoming even heavier in parts of the U.S. That report showed that heavy rainstorms have increased by 71% here in the Northeast from 1958 to 2012. Also, heavy rain events are becoming more frequent. There has been a noticeable increase since the 1980s.
I remember growing up and the weather being so different than it is now. Some of it's good, some of it's bad.
Scientists say water vapor, which condenses to form clouds and rain, is increasing, and more water in the atmosphere means higher precipitation. Also, upper-level weather systems may be creating blacking patterns more often, resulting in slower-moving weather systems, resulting in the heavier rain staying over us longer, dropping more rain. NCA future climate forecasts suggest we'll be seeing even more heavy rains nationwide.
Any questions? No, really. I mean, guys, it gets to the point where we're starting to get to the point where hopefully, guys like Marty and Uncle Joe, they'll stop swimming upstream, because that's what they're doing. They're just swimming against the tide, and eventually. And what bothers me is Joe works on oil burners. He uses thermometers all the time. When he gets done tuning up an oil burner, they give you a percentage of how efficiently it's running. He knows this stuff. So, I can't understand, how the Koch brothers get him to dumb himself down. But the next clip we're going to show is a short one, and it's on Q&A, and this is from, they do this in Australia. And I want you to listen to what the girl says in regard to the guy that says global warming people are forcing their views on other people. So, John, hit it.
there's no room for climate skepticism anymore. You know, it's really gotten to the point where climate change is real, it's happening. Yes, there needs to be action now. Yes, there needs to be action yesterday. Yes, there needs to be action tomorrow.
I'm an evangelical revolutionary, and I don't force my views on other people, you know? Why is the government forcing their views in the teaching of kids?
You don't agree with it, you get it's not about forcing views, it's about the health of our planet and our collective future together. We need to start perceiving ourselves as we see ourselves as we're here and nature's there. We need to start realizing and getting our head into the mentality that we are a part of nature, we are a part of this cycle, we are part of life in this mysterious planet, this only planet that will house human life. And if we keep destroying it, as science has proven that we're doing through the many different ways that we're doing it, because we're so civilized, then, you know, we're gonna pay for it. There's going to be more bushfires, there'll be more extreme weather events. You know what I mean? Like, there's no use playing the devil's advocate anymore. It's too late. We have to act now.
Yes. Guys, it's really simple. This is not a view, and it's not an opinion. It's data. And that's why when people say, well, you know, global warming's a religion. No. It's not whether you believe in global warming or you don't believe in global warming. Nothing to do with it. Doesn't matter what you believe. It's what the data tells you. That's it. And when you finally understand it, like the evangelical Christians, that's why I feel sorry for some of these people. When you have to believe that the world is 6,000 years old, there's a problem. You can't have your children go through life not understanding science. It's not possible. And you're insulting your children. And I'll tell you, a lot of times, you know, when I'm blogging with people, I'll ask them, I'll say, you know, are you homeschooled? No, I mean, because I mean, and maybe I am insulting them, but they deserve it. And the parents deserve it even more. Because you should be smart enough to understand that you don't have the credentials necessary to educate another individual. You know, you look at some of these T-billies, who's kidding who? You know, no wonder these people don't know if the global warming is real or not. You know, they don't know how to read a chart. All right, now, we're going to take a lighter side, a lighter view of what's going on. And we're going to do probably one of my favorites, Jon Stewart. And he's going to talk about Republicans and what it takes to be a Republican and the mindset that goes. And guys, I tell you, nobody, well, Bill Maher's right up there with him, but you guys know where I'm coming from. So John, it's time to lighten up and let's have some fun, so hit it. Isn't he terrific? I tell you, and you know, they cross the T's and they dot the I's, and you see what the Koch brothers want to do. And if you don't, well, now you're starting to see. The fact that you're watching this show means something. And all my buddies on Facebook, guys, you know, I tell you, I get so many different ideas from James Geary and Klondike Mike. Klondike Mike changed his name, but Uncle Joe still won't let me blog on his Facebook page. But for those who want to have fun, go to Things to Ponder. I tell you, you'll see one Obama thing after the other. But getting back to the Koch brothers, Russell Brand did a thing on a piece on the election, and the one thing he wants to refer to, he points out that the party we least like to run. Wait, I'll let him explain it because I'm going to goof it up. But he's going to mention the Koch industries. Now, he's English, so I don't know if he just can't say Coke or if he thinks that, you know, you're supposed to say Koch, but he'll refer to the Koch brothers, and he'll also refer to what I was trying to tell you, the party that we're least likely to vote for. John, play the clip.
Hello, welcome to The Truths. I'm the host of The Truths, Russell Brand. Truths is true news. Subscribe here to get truths directly unpeeling across the layers of your mind. There was an election yesterday in America. That's a thing that's called a democracy. Which one won? The red one or the blue one? How are these different colours funded? And what does it mean to us, ordinary voters and people?
You're watching live coverage of election night.
It's election night in America. Voters are choosing the 114th Congress.
It's a lot of pageantry, isn't there, and sort of ceremony. This is the 114th Congress. We've done this 113 times before. Does it have any meaning? Oh no.
The highest stakes were in the battle for America's upper house of Congress, the US Senate. As the results came in, it was clear this wasn't a good night for Barack Obama's Democratic Party.
Recent news in the New York Times that emerged due to a coding error revealed that some of the Republican Party's top donors are the most abusive corporations on the planet. ExxonMobil, Koch Industries, Pfizer and Coca-Cola. Establishing limits on campaign contributions is famously ineffective because there's so many ways to get around the law. It's amazing, isn't it? They're just, oh, we found a way to get around that. That the electoral system is entrenchantly set up to support corporations and existing private interests and political interests. It's sort of impossible to get represented. We've tried limiting contributions. There's nothing we could do.
Voters have been oscillating between the two parties, and what you're seeing is voters are saying, I'm dissatisfied, I don't like the way government is working, I don't like the way the economy is going, let's try something else. And they're trying something else every 2 years, and this year they're trying Republicans.
It says here, according to a CNN poll, 8 in 10 Americans disapprove of how Congress has been handling its job, while 6 in 10 are displeased with President Obama. 44% have a positive view of Democrats, 40% have a positive view of Republicans. Americans in these midterms have just elected the party they least like to run the government body they least trust. That is democracy. We'll have the party that we least like to run this body that we least trust. I'm sorry, that's the best we can do. Bloody awful is the absolute best we can do. This is why people are talking about revolution. This is why people are talking about the need for significant change, because all revolution means is, oh, change isn't going to come from inside this structure, is it? This structure works in this way. So the only change is going to come from outside of the structure, outside of the structure. Another word for that is revolution. If you want significant change in America or in England or anywhere, then you have to take direct control of your own lives, get involved in local campaigns through creative direct action. Learn more about groups like Occupy, learn more about groups like Anonymous, UK Uncut, things that I've never even heard of. The important thing is that we get involved ourselves, because as long as we're apathetic, as long as we're disengaged, these people run rampant. And whilst initially low voter turnout helps the special interests of big corporations, in the end a massive voter turnout wouldn't make a difference unless we've got something to vote for, and we won't get something to vote for unless we're directly engaged. That is the truth. Get involved, get involved. This is the truth.
Okay, so guys, I'll try it one last time. The party we least like to run the government by the party we trust the least. So, I mean, what's going to happen now? I just don't get it. Now, you guys know that I watch a lot of Fox News. I mean, there are times I have to shut it off, but I really try to decode it. That's a good way to put it. Decode what they say on Fox. And guys, I haven't heard this term mentioned all year. And it's the Keystone Pipeline. Now, all of a sudden, the Republicans take control, and now they want to light this carbon time bomb. You know why? Because the Koch brothers got billions of dollars sitting in the tar sands in Alberta. And they've been sitting patiently, but hey, they're getting tired. And they want to pump this stuff down. And when you watch the clips that we have, I think even Uncle Joe is going to find it hard to stand behind these guys when you see the extremes that they go through to put this stuff in your tank of your car and in the fuel tank of your home, and why they just can't say, hey, let's stop this nonsense. But guys, let's take a good look at what's going on with the Koch brothers and the tar sands, and when you see this, you're not going to be a happy camper. So John, hit it.
Each and every year, we become more, not less addicted to oil, a 19th century fossil fuel that is dirty, dwindling, and dangerously expensive.
Most Americans don't know is that for the last 7 years, Canada has been the #1 supplier of oil to the United States. We've replaced Saudi Arabia. We are the new Saudi Arabia.
The nice thing about Canada is that it is a direct pipeline to the U.S. It's reliable fuel. It's from a stable source, and it's not going to be affected by weather issues like hurricanes. So it's a significant factor, and I expect one that will continue to grow in the future.
Digging the bitumen out of the ground, squeezing the oil and converting it into synthetic crude is a monumental challenge. It requires vast amounts of capital, Brobdingnagian technology, and an array of skilled workers. In short, it is an enterprise of epic proportions, akin to building the pyramids or China's Great Wall, only bigger.
The tar sands are the largest industrial development and the largest energy project on the face of the planet. The land that we're talking about being disturbed is an area 149,000 square kilometers, an area the size of the state of Florida or the entire country of England.
Tar sands production is going to quadruple over the next 20 years or so. The tar sands are a very interesting example of end-to-end environmental degradation, whether it be excess use of water, whether it be toxic sludge that's out there affecting ecosystems, or whether it be greenhouse gas emissions.
$120 billion has been invested in tar sands development over the last 12 years. The Canadian reserves hold up to 173 billion barrels of recoverable crude oil, second only to Saudi Arabia. Tar sands production uses enough natural gas to heat 3 million homes and spews out as much greenhouse gas in a day as 1.34 million cars.
There's nowhere else on Earth where we're talking about destroying an area the size of Florida. There is nowhere else on Earth where you have toxic ponds that are so big that you can now see them from space.
What we are doing is probably the greatest form of moral carelessness you can find on the planet at the moment. We now have 60 kilometers of toxic lakes all along the Athabasca River. And what we know at this point in time is that we know that every single one of these tailings ponds leaks. They were, after all, only made out of sand.
Alberta's Liberals say tainted water leaked from an oil sands plant into the Athabasca River was kept secret for months. The opposition released a report today saying the leak from Suncor's wastewater pond happened last fall and that residents downstream were not told about it until 2 weeks ago.
I don't know when they were told, and that's one of the things I want to find out for sure is were the people notified, and again, what was the level of toxicity.
Tar sands generate a number of toxic chemicals hazardous to life. More disturbing is that these pollution levels are rising.
Tar sands are not standard oil. They are full of all sorts of very nasty things that we do not want in our world.
When you put arsenic and PAHs together, the carcinogenic effect can increase by 8 to 18-fold. And this is exactly what we have in the water and in the sediments of the river and in the delta. If you continually put billions of liters of tailings into ponds every day, 1.8 billion liters per day, where's it going to go? It eventually, some of it has to leak. The best estimates right now are that for about every 160 liters of tailings that are produced, one leaks and escapes to the ecosystem. That's pretty good from an engineering perspective. 160 liters we put in a pond, only one gets away. The problem is we're dealing with toxic substances on massive, massive.
Wait, it gets worse. It just doesn't end. And you know, there's no shame. And there's just moral carelessness. I mean, you know, how could you go to work in a place like this? I mean, doesn't this eat at your brain? You know, doesn't this give you that post-traumatic stress stuff without firing a single shot? You know what I mean? I mean, what about that that Marine that was in jail and we won't even get into that. All right, but anyway, now, guys, you heard what the girl said. The natural gas that they have to use to make the oil would heat 3 million homes. What's wrong with this picture? I mean, you know, and there's enough fuel for 1.4 million cars. I mean, one of these guys gonna get it? And most of the stuff that we're gonna transport, we're gonna transport it on the Keystone pipeline. And guys, when you see the next clip on the pipeline, when you see these pipelines, these are the last things you want in your neighborhood. So we're gonna show you this clip, and then we're gonna show you a clip where the pipeline broke in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I tell you, these poor people. All right, so let's have the first clip, John.
Oil companies want to build pipelines across America to carry tar sand crude from Canada to our coasts. The truth is, these proposed pipelines won't bring oil to America, they'd bring oil through America. The asphalt-like tar sands are mined from Canada's northern boreal forest. Oil companies have to heat the tar sands with toxic additives, generating massive greenhouse gas pollution and dumping cancer-causing chemicals into the air and water. Tar sands is the dirtiest oil on Earth. The heavy tar sands crude is pumped at extreme pressures and temperatures. On top of that, sand and chemicals in the mixture corrode steel. An existing U.S. tar sands pipeline spilled 12 times in its first 12 months of operation. That's a spill a month. Spills pollute waterways and critical underground aquifers, and can put crops and the drinking water for millions of Americans at risk. Oil companies use legal intimidation to force dangerous pipelines on landowners who don't want them. The Canadian tar sands crude is destined for U.S. coastal refineries, releasing more cancer-causing chemicals. The fuel would be largely exported overseas. Americans take on all the risks, while oil companies collect all the rewards. Huge profits that big oil uses to buy more influence in Washington, D.C. Moving America beyond oil isn't that difficult. With smart transportation choices, including vehicles powered by clean, advanced technology, we can achieve real energy independence, long-term national security, and create jobs. We need to draw the line at tar sands. The world's dirtiest oil isn't welcome here.
What could go wrong, right, guys? I mean, you know you're looking for trouble. And, you know, hey, when they ship the oil by rail, sometimes it's even worse. You know? But there's no better way. And let's see what happens when a pipeline ruptures. And we're going to show you what happened in the Kalamazoo River, in Battle Creek. And if Battle Creek rings a bell, that's because that's where Kellogg's cornflakes come from. Battle Creek, Michigan. From when I was a little kid watching Tony the Tiger. You know, they're great. All right, so anyway, let's show how it's not great to have an oil spill, and these people can't use the river anymore. When you see the signs, you're gonna go, you gotta be kidding me. So John, hit it.
I'm Susan Connolly, resident of Marshall, Michigan. We're here in Battle Creek, which is an area that has been impacted by the tar sand spill. From July 2010, Enbridge Pipeline 6B ruptured, spilling approximately 1 million gallons of tar sand crude. Talmadge Creek and the Kalamazoo River, the 40-mile span, is still closed to this day. There's a no contact order to this day. If we try to put our hands in this river right now, you'd get in trouble. It looks beautiful, but it is not. At the time of the spill, my children were at a daycare center within a mile of Talmadge Creek and the Kalamazoo River. My son had throwing up. My daughter developed a very strange rash on her body. There were headaches, nausea, vomiting, upset stomach. We had a burning sensation in our throat, burning in our eyes. This is the first spill of its kind, the largest in Midwest history. So this is the perfect opportunity to learn from it, study from it, especially with the proposed Keystone pipeline that's going to run the same horrible crude. Before you approve it, study it, research it, learn from the mistakes that have been made here to be prepared for what's going to happen in the future, because it's not a matter of if there will be a spill, it's just a matter of when. It will happen, it's going to happen, and just be prepared.
My husband and I own a carpet store right here in Ceresco. It's located at the top of the dam. Our business was closed for 3.5 months. The impact financially to us was incredible, incredible. And it's not only that short-term impact, it's long-term. You know, how do we get that business back? And business owners need to be aware of that. That break put 1 million gallons into our river, changed our communities forever. We're looking at houses that are sitting empty. We're looking at our property values that have declined. What is that doing to our tax base, our public safety, our schools, whatnot? What happens there?
First notice was the children vomiting. They'd complain, my head hurts, my eyes hurt, and all of us had that. But they started vomiting, and it would be a brownish, blackish material. The oil companies will say, oh, it's just a pipeline, it's no big deal. But as you can see, it devastates. And that's the message that I want America to realize. It's something that has to be studied independently, and it needs to be taken extremely serious. This is not Grandpa's old crude.
I could smell the oil. It was very strong in the apartment. Their kids was getting sick on it. They was taking their babies to the doctor. My eyesight, I did the best of what I could with Pine Sol and bleach to scrub that oil smell out of here. How you know them pipes ain't gonna break again? Then we got another case.
Guys, you saw the signs. You know what? When there's an oil spill like that, you know what should be done? Should invite the Koch brothers up for a play date. That's right. Have them come up with their swimming tubes and their life rafts, and we're gonna do a little canoeing and paddling, and you go swimming, and then we're gonna catch some fish. And you can eat the fish. Yeah, can you imagine if they had to live with this, the way they pollute the country? Guys, we'll see you next week. It was a lot of fun.